How would you say your guitar style developed in terms of influences, finding your own sound? Like, how did your repertoire develop over the years?
Well, um, it happens so slow, that in such a gradual process, that it's hard for me put it into a to put it into words succinctly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could just say that um, I was at the time I started out. I had finally gotten a good guitar, an old J200,
Mm-hmm.
which I fixed up. That's the first time I started doing any kind of guitar repair work, which I've gotten into over the years too. And I was using finger picks, and then I got me an old Stylo National guitar, which I think I paid $65 for. Nobody was playing those guitars. I think the first one I saw was I think the first one I saw Sunhouse was playing. I went up to hear him at the Club 47 in Cambridge,
Yeah.
and Al Wilson was playing harp with him.
Al Wilson from Canned Heat.
Al Wilson, who eventually was one of the key members of Canned Heat,
Sure.
and I during the break, I was really kind of weirded out by overhearing some folk Nazi giving Al Wilson a ration of shit for playing harp with Son House. And he was doing a good job.
Yeah, I bet.
And Son liked to have him play with him. And Al Wilson was a great musician. And but this guy wasn't having it. He was some one of these intellectual individuals who just couldn't adjust to the fact that a white guy was playing with a black man.
Yeah.
One of these people that tries to put music on a microscope slide.
Yeah. Did you see Book of White much in those days? Because he comes to mind as somebody else who might have been playing a national.
Yeah, I saw him in Memphis. I drove down to Memphis in '68 for the Memphis Country Blues Festival. And that was one of the last things I did with that old VW bus that I had bought, because it crapped out shortly after that. And and he knocked me out with that Aberdeen Blues.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things he ever did. I love Book of White stuff.
Yeah. How do you see country blues today, acoustic blues? Is there
Well,
hope for it?
oh, I think there is. I think there's always
You hear good people playing it, younger people?
occasionally. When I was in Europe, I heard some good players around Munich. Surprisingly, they surprised me. They were really good. And one of the guys was playing all my stuff. It's exactly the way I do it. Nice guy.
That must have felt good.
Yeah, it was a little scary.
Yeah.
And a great musician in this country, Steve Mann, just passed away about a month ago. And he had a big effect on me. He influenced other people that I knew. Jack McGann for one, and Eric Frenz for another. And Jack and I recorded together on that Sire album that I did, and which now I've just got a bootleg of. I just sell bootlegs of it because I never made any money on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, he learned a lot from Steve Mann, and I didn't meet Steve until I finally was able to contact him in Los Angeles, and he came to this gig I had after that time in Los Angeles and showed up, and I met him. But he was always in tough shape. He had a lot of problems, illness and drug dependency and stuff like that, you know. And he, a lot of things contributed to his demise, I guess you could say. And he was someone who took the country blues and fingerstyle guitar and carried it to real extreme creativity. He incorporated Mose Allison piano things and Ray Charles piano things into his guitar playing, and did a lot of interesting dynamics with the acoustic guitar. Just a guitar and microphone. And he was a good singer. And I think he did more to carry the music into extreme directions than anybody else I've ever heard or run into. And Larry Johnson is another guy who did a lot of stuff like that. John Hammond is an incredible performer of the music. He's taken the music and run with it, you know. And Spider John Kerner is another guy who I think did a whole lot with it. And Dave Ray. He got into doing things like who's the famous St. Louis piano player? God, I can't even recall his name all of a sudden.
Johnny Johnson?
No, the St. Louis piano, not Johnny Johnson. Not the guy that played with Chuck Berry.
Right.
This is a guy who recorded a lot of solo stuff. He did some stuff with Yank Rachel.
Curtis Jones?
No, and Henry Townsend too.
Oh.
Oh my God, Walter Davis.
Oh yeah.
He did some really interesting stuff with Walter Davis material. And Amos Garrett and Jeff Moldar did some beautiful stuff. I mean, there's been a lot of people that have, you know, moved the yardage, you know.
Sure.
And gradually getting first downs.
Yeah.
And doing things with the music that have never been done before. But it's not the kind of thing that's a spectacular innovative jump all at once. It's something that's taking place in a very gradual way. And I also can't really speak for the state of the music as well as some other people who are maybe staying in one place and watching things go by, because I'm out there running around. And me and the other musicians are all ships passing in the night. We hardly ever get a chance to sit down and compare notes or anything, you know.
Yeah, about how many gigs do you do every year?
Gee, you know, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I got to make enough to cover my rent and my utilities and keep my car running.
Yeah.
So it's I have to. I enjoy working, and I gig as much as I can. Unfortunately, I haven't reached a point where I haven't come into a situation where I can't get enough work to get by. But it's a hand-to-mouth existence, though. It's not Fat City.
Sure. What one of the things you're known for is being a great 12-string player. What drew you to 12-string guitar? Was it people you heard playing 12-string, or?
Well, Blind Willie McTell was one of the first recorded blues singers that really, the first, certainly as far as 12-string guitar goes, he's the first person that really blew my mind. Later on, I heard Leadbelly, but I didn't really get a chance to hear much of Leadbelly until later on. I heard Willie McTell on a compilation disc that Sam Charters put together, and was released on the heels of his book, which was published about 1959. And I remember reading that book. And that book is one of the another thing I should mention in terms of what got me initially, you know,
Mm-hmm.
queued up about this music, you know, because it had, you know, thumbnail biographies of all these different people that had made records. And on that record, on the compilation that came out, it was called The Country Blues.
On Vanguard Records?
No, it was on RBF.
Oh, okay.
There was his recording of Statesboro Blues, and that was a jaw dropper.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy listening to what he did with that song, and I still enjoy playing it. And in fact, I never really attempted to play it the way he did until years after I first started playing it in lots of different ways. You know, and of course it helps to have a guitar that you can really pick. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of 12 strings just aren't. They're very good for picking. You know, and the one I got now is one of the nicest ones I've ever played. It was built by this guy Todd Cambio,
Okay.
up in Madison, Wisconsin. He makes really great 12 strings.
What are your favorite? What are you playing now for your 6-string? What's your main?
It's the best guitar I've ever had. It's a 1930s J35 Gibson. And I was very lucky to been able to get that guitar from a friend of mine who had it up in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And those two guitars are just, you know, that's my tools of the trade, and I really haven't been as well off in that respect as before.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that I can't do, I can't blame it on those guitars.
Yeah.